Hey everyone, back with a new video, and today I want to talk about some easy habits that'll help you have a healthier diet. So, most of the time, people come to me and they ask, hey, how could I have a healthier diet? How could I have a better approach to nutrition? And a lot of times I find that I make the mistake of being a little bit too, how would you say, like scientific or too specific with the advice that I give them, and a lot of times I start seeing like this glossy-eyed look where they kind of lost them a long time ago, and so I started thinking to myself, what are some ways that I can help people, give them some advice as far as giving, as far as a healthier diet is concerned, without losing them along the way. So I came up with a few different things that I think everybody can do that'll help them to have a healthier diet overall. So the first thing that I thought of is that rather than eating more highly processed foods, you should try to eat more whole, fresh foods that you prepare yourself at home. And so what this comes down to is pretty easy. Like, try to get those fresh vegetables from the store. Try to get this fresh meat from the meat department in the store if you're somebody that eats meat, rather than relying on things like frozen vegetables or a TV dinner or something like that. And that's just going to do a couple things for you. One, that's going to ensure that you're going to be eating more nutrient dense foods as far as vitamins and minerals are concerned. And number two, it's going to decrease the amount of highly palatable foods that people tend to overeat and overconsume. And so over time, what this will do is give you more of the nutrients that you need. And I'm not just talking about carbohydrates, fats, and protein. I'm talking about all the micronutrients, all the phytonutrients, all of the minerals, all those kinds of things that are also important for your nutrition, and less of those quote unquote empty calories that you get from the processed foods. Now, processed foods are a lot easier as far as prepping them, as far as if you're a busy person. And so I'm not saying not to rely on any processed foods, but when you can, make the decision to eat more of those fresh whole foods, and I'll bet that your diet becomes more and more healthy over time as a result. This also isn't to say that processed foods are bad for you in any way. I think that a small amount of processed foods or in your diet is totally fine. I think what it comes down to is over reliance on processed foods, or filling your diet with nothing but processed foods can lead to overconsumption of calories, can lead to putting on weight, can lead to a lot of different health problems over time simply because they're easy to overconsume. Another component here is that fresh whole foods are more filling. So you tend to eat less of those foods while still getting the nutrients that you need. And so over time, you start to see that maybe you lose a little bit of weight, but you're still feeling maybe more energetic because you're still getting those nutrients that you need. And so that's probably why whole, fresh foods are tied to health a little bit more than those processed foods might be. The second habit that I think people can establish that will give them a healthier diet is to consume more fruits and vegetables, and to try to have fruits and vegetables at every single meal. So for breakfast, maybe you're not somebody that likes sauteed vegetables and eggs every single day, but maybe you can have some fruit with your oatmeal or an apple after your normal breakfast in place of maybe some of those less desirable carbohydrates that are just full of sugar, like maybe pancakes or Eggos or things like that, topped with sugary syrup. And this kind of is going to accomplish the same kind of thing that we saw with point number one, which is that you're going to make sure that you're getting more of those whole nutrient dense foods in your diet, which is going to help you feel fuller. It's going to help you feel more satisfied. It's going to make sure that you're getting all the nutrients that you need in your diet. And so overall, over time, you're going to feel better, hopefully, have more energy, and then you're going to have a healthier diet as a result. How can you go about getting more vegetables in your diet? Everybody says eat more vegetables, but how do you actually do that? Well, one way would be to have a salad at lunch or a salad at dinner. Salads are really easy for most people. You can pick them up from the grocery store pre-made. You can make them yourself with whatever vegetables that you might find more palatable. Either way, it's a really easy way to get a good amount of vegetables in your diet without really having to think about it very much. Another way you can do this, like I said earlier, is maybe having a piece of fruit after each meal. And if you're somebody that counts calories or macros, just make sure that that's accounted for in your daily targets. But just having a piece of fruit is going to do a couple of things. One, it's going to make sure you get those nutrients in the way I'm telling you to. And two, it's going to allow you to maybe curb that sweet tooth that seems to plague a lot of people. You have a meal and you want something sweet afterwards. Well, an apple, some strawberries, some blueberries have that sugar that is going to curb that craving, but also come with the fiber that's going to maybe cancel out the increase in hunger that sometimes comes with eating sugary foods. Another good thing you can do is just to have a cup of any vegetable at every single meal. So for breakfast, that might just be a cup of sauteed broccoli or some spinach. For lunch, that could be a cup of carrots or asparagus. Same thing goes for dinner. It's just an easy rule of thumb. You can use your fist, which is usually about a cup right there, to measure out your portion sizes. And so that's pretty easy for you to implement right away. The third habit that I think you could establish is all about protein. Getting enough protein in your diet. How do you do that? Well, an easy thing to do is just to make sure that you eat all of your protein first at each meal before you start on all the other things that are on your plate. Oftentimes, protein isn't the most exciting thing on your plate. It's probably usually the most boring thing on your plate, if we're honest. And you're kind of ready to get to the more exciting things like your sautéed potato, your sautéed vegetables, or some sort of rice dish or potato dish. And so by eating your protein first, you're making sure that you're getting, of course, all of the protein in your diet that you need for growth, repair, just overall health. But you're also doing something else for your hunger, which is that protein is very satiating. So if you eat all of your protein first, you're more likely to stop your meal when you're actually full, as opposed to like over consuming all of the goodies that may be on your plate just because they're already on your plate and you're not full yet. So then if your goal is to lose weight or lose fat, this is a really important one because, like I just said, protein is very satiating. And by that I mean it decreases your hunger, especially in between meals. So you might find that when you increase your protein intake, you end up feeling less hungry throughout the day, less hungry between meals. And so by eating your protein first in a meal, you're making sure that you are extending the amount of time that you're going to have to deal with any kind of hunger or cravings. The fourth habit that you can establish for a healthier diet would be to make sure you're drinking enough water and enough fluids in general. This is something that a lot of people sort of overlook when it comes to diet and nutrition, but dehydration can do a lot of different things for us that are not very good. Number one, being dehydrated could sometimes make you feel like you're hungry. So sometimes people will snack a lot and consume extra calories because they feel like they're hungry, but in reality they're actually a bit dehydrated and they need to just drink some more fluids. So that's one of the first things that I tell people when they have a lot of issues with hunger, especially in between meals, is to try to just drink a cup of water either before the meal or immediately after the meal, so that way they can feel more satisfied over time. Also, dehydration isn't doing you any favors when it comes to being productive, when it comes to thinking clearly and mental clarity in general, and when it comes to working out. We have a lot of research out there to show that working out when you're dehydrated is going to lead to performance decrements, which is going to possibly lead to pain and injury. And so it's just not a good idea to be working out dehydrated. So make sure you're getting enough water, and over time, I bet you're going to feel a lot better. So last but not least, as far as these habits are concerned, would be to take your mealtime seriously and not just always eat on the go, eat really quickly, and things like that, which is unfortunately something that a lot of us in today's society probably struggle with. So when you sit down to actually enjoy a meal, that does a lot of things for you as far as your physiological response to that meal. So if you're constantly, on the go, eating in your car, stuffing down a meal, you're actually kind of in a sympathetic state while you're eating. Well, we know that uh, the parasympathetic nervous system is called the rest and digest part of the nervous system, which means that when we're eating and digesting our food, we should be in that parasympathetic state. Well, if you never sit down and actually activate that parasympathetic state, you're not going to be digesting your food as well because you're still going to be in that sympathetic state. So, one thing you could do to combat this would be to simply make sure you're sitting down when it's mealtime. Make sure to take a few deep breaths before you start eating. And then while you're eating, make sure you are chewing your food thoroughly, putting your fork down between bites, and just sort of being mindful of how you're feeling, mindful of how well you're chewing your food, and mindful of even how the food tastes. And if you're eating with somebody else, just being mindful of the conversation you might be having with them, things like that. All of these things are going to basically slow down your eating, and sort of introduce some better habits as far as what they call food hygiene. So you're going to chew your food more thoroughly, which means that your digestion it's going to have less of an impact on your digestive system, which usually means being able to assimilate those nutrients better, absorb them better, and make use of that energy more efficiently. It's also going to allow you to just sort of take a break from the daily grind of go, 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 get the work done, all that stuff. And you can take a break and remove yourself from that and actually enjoy a 15-minute meal. You're going to start to do some good things for your stress management, and things of that nature. So these are 5 really effective habits that I have found to be really helpful for people when they're first starting out on, trying to understand how to navigate their nutrition, trying to understand how to eat healthier in general. A lot of people think the first step is just dealing with calories, but I actually think that the first step should just be establishing these better habits, because these sort of lay the foundation for you to have more success later on with whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish with your nutrition, whether that be losing fat, whether that be improving performance in the gym, whether that be just being a healthier person overall and feeling like you have more energy and things like that. These habits go a long way, and they're not really what I would call super difficult to implement at first. Now, granted, if you're somebody who's coming from the complete opposite of what I just said, they're going to be a little bit more difficult. But hopefully, I provided you guys with a few easy to implement things, like I said, with the vegetables, or like I said, with the drinking the water, or the eating the protein first, things like that, that'll help you to get to a place where these habits are just easy and second nature. If you found these habits that I suggested helpful, please leave a comment below. Subscribe to me here on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram. If you have any suggestions for future videos, please leave those in the comments. I really appreciate you guys watching this video, and I'll see you next time.